We're starting a new sermon series this month, and it's called Seasonal Operations. So we're kind of looking of, how do you operate in different seasons? Because I feel like life is a bit like seasons. You kind of have your really good months, like depends if you like summer, spring, or winter, but whatever your good season is, you have those. But then you have ones that aren't as good. And it seems like it's like a cycle, right? You just seem to flow between the different seasons that life brings. So we're doing a whole series of looking how to operate in those seasons. And to kick things off, I have a question for you guys. How do you go when you have little control in a chaotic time? Now what I mean by this is there's sometimes stuff in our life that we have little control over and it's a bit chaotic. For me, to give you an example to help, I remember when I first came to Australia, I was 19. I had a kid, I got married and then had a kid, like all within like a 3-month span, right? So Caleb was born. Like any dad, I want to start working. But there's a problem. I'm on a bridging visa. What that meant is I had a traveling visa to come here, got married, quickly applied for a permanent residency visa, but then if you know anything about visas, that can take time. So then I had to put in an application to work on my bridging visa. And it was really chaotic because we had no money and we had a newborn. Charlie just had what she could get from Centrelink, and then we were really scraping the barrel. We were pretty lucky to have her Nana and Pop look after us, but I remember it was a chaotic time for me where I did work and got some, cash jobs underneath the table. Because you got to do something, right? And people wanted to help. I remember having no money, and I was going to, I think they're closed down now. It was like Downs Paper Company or something. Somehow I had a connection there, so I was doing an internship. Had no idea what I was doing, but I had to fake it, right? Because so far, that's my only opportunity. And there might have been a job that panned out. So I'm faking it like I know what's going on, not getting paid for it. He has no way to pay me. I'm going in like a normal job, but there's no pay, because he can't pay me. And it was chaotic. I didn't really have much control because I was just waiting on the government. So how do you go in times like that? In times in life when there's something chaotic going on, but you don't have much control. And I guess for me, I really think we can learn something from the story of Noah's Ark. I think this story has something to teach us. So if you don't know, we hear about this guy named Noah who lives to be like 900 or something ridiculous. Could you imagine living that long? Oh my goodness. Ugh, I couldn't do it. But Noah lives forever, and we read his story in Genesis 6 to 9 is when you read about this guy named Noah. And then in Genesis 6, we find out 2 key things. All right, so this is 6 chapters in to the beginning of our Bible. And we find out the state of creation is this cosmic disorder. There's these angelic beings coming down, and they're having kids with humans. So there's like this cosmic disorder that you can read about. Right? Something's just not right. They use a different word, Nephilim or something like, I don't think I can say it right. So I'm not going to try to say the word, but basically they're painting this picture. There's this cosmic disorder going on. And then on top of that, humanity is in chaos. Like you think right now is bad, like it was apparently how the Genesis makes it out, is it's crazy. Like horrible stuff. Think of the worst places you could be in the world with some of the biggest crime rates, the biggest injustices going on, times that by 100, and then we're probably getting close to what's going on. So it's something we can't even imagine. There's this cosmic disorder and this humanity in chaos. But there's one dude. We don't know how, we don't know why, we don't know what Noah did to be righteous, but for some reason God looked at Noah and said, he's all right. And Noah gets his instructions to build an ark. that's going to hold two of every animal, right? Just think about that. That's a big, like, have you ever seen scalings of people drawing up the ark? Like, I think there's a place in America where they built one, and it's like a theme park. You can go and walk through it and stuff. But it would have been massive. But the thing we miss about Noah building his ark is he gets instructions to build it with no way to navigate. If you don't believe me, you can go back and read through the instructions, but Noah's got no way to navigate this gigantic ark. God pretty much says, yo, build it. I got you. For some reason, I think for me, if I was Noah, I would have looked at the instructions and go, oh, this looks good, this looks good. Hey, God, I just got one question. How do I control which way this thing goes? Oh, don't worry about that. Okay, cool. Keep reading. All right, God, you have us go in this door. How do I worry about shutting this door when don't worry about it. I got you. Oh. Okay. And two of every animal? Yeah, two of every. Oh. Do I got to get the food too? Yeah, you got to get the food because we missed that. Noah's got so much to prepare. So this is what we have so far, just setting the scene. And then the flood happens in Genesis chapter 7. Now, I'm not going to read all of chapter 7. I'm not going to read all of the Noah story, but I want to read just verses 11 and 12 from the Message. And this is what we read. It was the 600th year of Noah's life. Just Paul, 600th year. Like, God, you can't do this when he's in his 30s? Like, I know they lived longer back then, but surely in his 30s, he's, No, 600th year of Noah's life. In the second month, on the 17th day of the month that it happened, all the underground springs erupted and all the windows of heaven were thrown open. Rain poured for 40 days and 40 nights. Now, something we miss with that verse is Genesis 7, verse 11 is kind of like a reversal of Genesis 1, verse 2. So if you go back to Genesis 1 and you look at verse 2, that's when God divides the waters, right? That's the second day of creation. It says the Spirit of God's hovering, and then there's the split made. Now, if you dive in to waters and the terminology for that and what it's really getting at, because it's this, term that we're like, oh, just waters? That doesn't sound too bad. But waters is a symbol for chaos. Not just any chaos, cosmic chaos. So in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, you have God tame the chaos, right? In Genesis chapter 7, verse 11, you have God go, all right, have some fun. There's the chaos back. Now, we're not talking about a little storm. We're talking about the biggest storm you can imagine. Springs erupted from underneath. There's all poop breaking loose from the sky. Like, how scared do you get when it starts hailing? Imagine that coming from both directions. There's this cosmic chaos happening. God's unleashing this cosmic chaos that he tames in the second day of the creation. Now, the rain may last 40 days. But the flood lasted 150 days. And we know that because in verse 24 we read the floodwaters took over for 150 days. Which I like how the Message says that, because it doesn't say the floodwaters stayed. Right? That might make us think and be naive that it's calm. No, the floodwaters took over. I think one of the biggest tragedies in Christianity is we've turned Noah's Ark into this beautiful kid's story. And if you really read Noah's Ark, it is not a kid's story. It's intense. It's humanity's at its worst. Not only that, this storm is cosmic chaos. And then you have this guy named Noah who's given really not just little instructions, massive instructions to build this ark, no way to navigate. You get the food. Oh, there's going to be 2 of every animal as well. Have fun. I mean, who has dogs here? Does anyone have dogs? All right, how scared does your dog get when it thunderstorms? You're all right? They're all right? Anyone get a scared dog at a thunderstorm, or is I'm the only one who encountered that? All right. So there's probably some animals that don't like the rain, right? You imagine trying to keep a tiger calm. Or a lion. Nope, I'm out. Like if I was Noah's son, I would have jumped off the boat and be like, God, I'm gonna take my chances. I know how to doggy paddle pretty well. We'll just see how long I can stay afloat. But this isn't a kid's story. It's a tragic story. It's a scary story if we're really reading it. Of floodwaters taking over the earth. Of all land things beside the two of every animal and the couple of humans on that ark that are connected to Noah, die. And I like to think if it was a flood, like any of us, if we're trapped in floodwaters, we're not just going to be like, all right, have your way, God. No, we're going to swim, right? Especially if it's humanity in this chaos, thinking that it doesn't need God, it doesn't need anything, it can do what it wants. And you have Noah on this ark while all this is going on, with no way to navigate. So my question to you is, how does Noah find peace? Because if we're honest, I don't think any of us have ever been in a chaotic time like this. You have day 2 of creation reversed. Instead of God taming this chaotic disorder, this cosmic disorder, and bringing peace to this cosmic chaos, God unleashes cosmic chaos. And you're stuck on a big ark with a bunch of animals, and I'm sure a couple of them are scared. And if I'm Noah, I'm sending the kid who made me the most mad that morning to go check on the tigers and lions, go look at them. But not only that, it's not like 40 days, 40 nights, and you're good. No, the floodwaters took over the earth for 150 days. And how do you find peace? You got no way to navigate. You're on this big boat. You got limited food supply. God never told you how long the floodwaters are going to happen. So I'm sure if I'm like Noah, 7 days in, you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. All right, God, I think you've done everything. Like, I don't know if you see, I can look around. I see, some of those people who are really mean. They're no longer with us. Like, surely, can you, turn it off for a bit? Like, come on. Let me get these animals off. Like, I don't know if you know, but, I went scabbing on the food. I'm like 600 years old. You could have done this when I'm 30. Like, you think about that. So how does Noah find peace? He's got little control. He's on a big boat. He can't navigate it anywhere. And he's got all these animals, and he's got a limited food supply. Now, for me, I think we discover something in Matthew chapter 6, verse 25 to 34. Because in the story of Noah, we never hear how Noah has peace. We kind of just skip to the next part, right? The water's stopping, he sends out the birds, and then eventually, they go out and, Noah celebrates a little bit too much, which is another story in itself. But that's what we read, right? We skip the boat. So how does he have peace? And I think we discover something that Jesus teaches us in Matthew chapter 6, and I want to read this with you guys. And this is the ESV version. It says, "Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on it. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow, nor they reap, nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to his lifespan?" So here Jesus is making it pretty clear that anxiety doesn't help. So I think step one, when Noah was on the ark, I don't think he was like in the fetal position, rocking like, oh my goodness, it's so rainy outside. I'm so scared. God, make it stop. Oh, that monkey keeps throwing poo at me every time I try to give him stuff. Come on, God. No, I don't think he's doing that. He's not trapped in this anxiety. There would be this little bit of trust that God's going to look after him. He would look back and say, no, God gave me the instructions for the wood. And then I was able to get all this wood. And then he told me to get the food, and I was able to do that. And then, he said not to worry about how there was no way to close that door, and he somehow shut it before the flood happens. So he's got it. I'll trust in that. I'll do what I can. Jesus goes on in this teaching. And why are you anxious about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is alive and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Here Jesus is making it clear to us that pretty much the beauty of creation trumps anything we can create. If you don't believe me, go into a Harvey Norman or JB Hi-Fi or Good Guys, whichever electronic store is your favorite, because we all have one we go to. So I'm not going to debate about which one's better. We all have one. So go to the one you like. Go look at one of those cool, I think they're like OLEDs or QLEDs, like the new fancy TVs that are like $10,000, right? Look at those. Oh, they're beautiful, right? And they can put up pictures of nature. But we all know if we had a chance to look at the Grand Canyon on a TV or go in person and stand at the Grand Canyon or whatever big natural monument we want to explore, it's way better in person. Because we know nothing we can create, even these cool little iPads, our phones, it gets trumped by creation if we just sit and observe it. And Jesus is making that clear, and he's like, look, if this happens, how much more does God care about you? He goes on. Therefore, do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the Gentiles seek after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them all. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Now, that messed up. Sorry. Don't know what happened there with the formatting. But I believe we live like Noah on the ark when we control what we can and leave the rest to God. While embracing the pain, because the little messed up bit there, which apologies, says we can only move through pain by embracing it. So I think for me, how Noah would have lived on the ark in this moment, he would have controlled what was in front of him, right? Each day, I'm pretty confident he would have woke up and he might have had a to-do list with his kids and with his family of, what animals to check on, what animals made him maddest the day before, so he's going to feed them last, and, what kid made him the worst mad? It's their turn for the tigers. Yeah, I don't want to check the tigers. Or the apes, man, they're pretty strong. Yeah, I'll get that. They map out their list, right? And then I'm pretty sure they would go, and they obviously didn't have an iPad to make a list, which they would have loved the reminders thing on an iPad. I'm sure that would have came in handy. But they had some way, and they ticked it off. Noah controlled what he could, which was this ark and the animals on it. And he woke up each day and did what he could. And then he gave the rest to God. He didn't stress at the end of the day of, oh my goodness, God, when are you going to make this rain stop? When are you going to make this flood stop? Like, I'm getting scared. No, he didn't stress about that. He controlled what he could and gave the rest to God. But I don't think this means in any way, as I see us do sometimes in Christianity, we hide the pain we're going through. And for me, this becomes clear when you sit with people sometimes, and I've even said this before, when you're going through a hard time, but it'll work out. I've prayed about it. God's got it under control. Now, I'm not saying God doesn't have it under control. I'm not saying not to pray. Please hear me. But we all know that's not a magic wand that makes the pain and the struggle go away. And if we operate that way, we're just going to push the pain down, and it's going to get more destructive. At some point, we got to embrace the pain and the chaos going around us. Not in a fearful way like it's going to overtake us, but we share what it is. I have no doubt Noah would have had his days where he sat down with his sons and said, guys, I'm tired. I mean, today that spider monkey threw 3 turds at me. 1 got in my mouth. And then I had to go feed that tiger again. And oh, man. Well, they tried to scratch me, man. It was this close. Like, guys, I'm just tired. Look where the cheetah bit me last time. I got a little nip of that still hurts. No, they were honest about the pain they were in, because we all know the only way to move through pain is to embrace it, not to hide it. So I want to encourage you with something today as I wrap up this message. And it's in seasons of chaos, let us control what we can and leave the rest to God while embracing the pain. Because I know that's something I did when I was first here. When I was first here on a bridging visa and didn't have much money and used to spend like $20 to get our food after we got all our stuff for Caleb, who, man, babies, I'm sorry, any young people in the room, take all the nappies you can. All right, so whenever you're going to have a kid, you're going to have adults, and you're going to think it's the stupidest gift. They're going to keep bringing you newborn nappies, and you're like, there's no way a baby's going to poo this much. I guarantee you a baby poos and pees that much. So take all the nappies and wipes. But after we spent all the money on that, God still looked out for us. We still had enough. We had random stuff of people leaving us a couple $100 in the mailbox. I didn't have enough money to pay for the bridging visa that I needed in the application, and somehow my mom the next day helped me with it and sent money. The person I interned for at Downs Paper Company, he never paid me, but you know what he did do? He bought me a car for our wedding day present. And he said, you can just work it off with the internship. Seriously? God just looked after us. I had mates call me up, and I had no building experience. I got this one mate who I haven't been in contact with for a while, but he runs an awesome business, and he's a tradie. And he called me up because, Matt, I need some help. And I go, all right, that's cool, but just so you know, I don't know how to build. And he goes, oh, yeah, sure, I'll take you with me. No lie. He had to show me how to use a power drill. He gave me this thing, and we're up on a roof, and he's like, all right, just screw it in. And I'm like, all right, how does it work? I'm like, look, it makes a cool buzz sound. Look at that. And he's like, oh, my goodness. So he instructed me. But he didn't just take me out once. He would take me out multiple times. Matt, who can't build anything, but would just follow instructions, and he knew I was going through a tough time, so he would help. That same friend, when we had nowhere to go, made a joking comment to me saying, oh, if you guys ever need, or you ever don't want to leave with your Nana and Pop, you can come and stay with us. And then Nana and Pop ran out of money, and like most people, they told me at the last minute. So I had like a week. So I called this friend up. And I said, oh, you remember how you joked at church that one time that, we could live with you? Yeah. Is that still on the table? Yeah. When do you need to, come? In a couple weeks? This Saturday. All right, we can do that. And he let me stay with him till we got a place. Like, God looked out for me. That doesn't mean there wasn't chaos. I just controlled what I could. I could control waking up and going to help this friend. I could control showing up every day at that paper company and just doing what I had to do. I could control reaching out to help when I needed to. Not in a way where the pain overtook me, but I did call my mom and said, Mom, I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm 19. Oh, why didn't you save up the money? I thought I did, but now there's like $2,000 more, and I have no idea, Mom. But it's going to be all right. I know God's going to do something. I'm going to figure it out, but I'm struggling. I never hid the pain. I was honest about it. I embraced it. but I just controlled what I could and left the rest to God, and God came through again and again. And I think when we live like Noah does on the ark, we discover peace in the chaos. That doesn't mean the chaos is going to magically get tamed. Noah still had to be on the ark for 150 days. 150 days. Just, whew. Like, all right, this is just another thing I just thought about, right? People have dogs. Dogs need to go on walks, right? Like, what do you think about a cheetah or a leopard? Like, surely they needed some free time to run around. I don't know how that was managed or navigated, but there had to be something. So this didn't go away for Noah. But I think Noah discovered peace in the chaos by controlling what he could, giving the rest to God, and embracing the pain when it happened and not hiding it. And I think we can do the same if we live like Noah did on the ark, because we're all going to have times in life that come to us where there's chaos and there's little we can control. And we can either whine about it, curl up in the fetal position, get a nice blanket to put on over ourselves, watch some good Netflix shows on repeat, and not do anything, not have any steps to go forward, or we can control what we can. Still maybe have those moments where we pull up the covers and we stay in bed longer and we watch some Netflix or do whatever it is for us. But then when we can, we know to get up and take control of what we can. And I think if we live that way, we'll discover some peace. The problems won't magically go away, but we'll discover peace like Noah did when he was trapped on that ark for 150 days.